I'm Elizabeth at The Literary Princess, and today I am doing another shelf tour. This time it is my fantasy shelves. So the room that I have my other bookshelves in, like you've seen these two, of course, and how lovely they are. The room that my other bookshelves are in it's called the office, but I refer to it as the pit of despair because it has been unusable for over a year now. So basically, everything that we were given for our wedding that we haven't been able to put out had been put in there, and it was just stacked, and we couldn't really vacuum in there. The desks were all piled with paper because every time we had people over, we were like, we need to clean, and we took the stuff and we just, shoved it in there. So yeah, we had this entire room that was basically not usable except for where the cat litter box was in there. And when school ended, because my semester's over now, I was like, okay, we're dealing with this. And I dealt with it, but I also decided to reorganize the bookshelves, get rid of some books, which made my husband happy. I have since bought more books, but that's another video. But yeah, so rearrange the bookshelves, and now it is a usable room that I do not feel ashamed to show you. So we will be going into the office that is no longer the pit of despair. I'm still not sure how the lighting is gonna really work in there. The lighting is shit, but I'll bring my ring light and see if we can figure something out. I don't know. So let's go look at my fantasy books. All right, so here we go. Like I said, the lighting is just not great. I'm sorry, and you're also gonna have to deal with shaky camera. I'm sorry. So I've got a lot of candles in here. This is one that I was given for my wedding. We're just gonna move that. So we've got the Chronicles of Prydain by Lloyd Alexander. We've got The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. We have my Holly Black books. So I only have Tithe out of the Modern Fairy Tales in physical copy. I do have the other two on my Kindle. And then I've got the Whole Folk of the Air series and her newest book, The Stolen Heir. Loved it. One of my favorite fantasy series, the Gemma Doyle trilogy. I love this cover. It's one of my absolute favorites. And A Great and Terrible Beauty is such a good title for a book. Got my Anastasia music box here that I've had since I was a child. I really loved Anastasia as a kid. Okay, I had an Anastasia themed birthday party one year. And then I'll just move that. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, favorite of mine. We've got this beautiful Owl Crate edition of Lake's Edge, which I have not read yet. The Hollow Kingdom by Claire B. Dunkel. I really liked this book. It's very similar to Winter Song or Labyrinth. There is some weird sexism in the series, though, which is why I only have the first book, because it's not as prominent. We've got Inkheart, and we will see the rest of the trilogy when we go down. Rest of the Inkheart trilogy. We have my Winter Song themed candle, which smells amazing. My two Neil Gaiman books. The Princess Bride. Theodora Goss's second book in the Monstrous Gentlewomen series. My friend gave this to me. He Goss was his professor in his creative writing MFA, but he didn't have the first book, so I need to get the first book. Winter Song and Shadow Song, my favorite. The Tierling series, I only have the first two books, and I need to get the third one. Howl's Moving Castle, an absolute favorite. I actually used to have the other two books, Castle in the Air and House of Many Ways, but I decided to unhaul them because I don't think I'm ever going to want to read them again because they're not as good. The Ordinary Princess, a childhood favorite of mine. Stephen King's Dark Tower series. I have the first 4. I've only read the first 2 though. Moving down, we have Stephen King's Fairy Tale. I still need to read that. Babel, favorite of last year. Some Ursula K. Le Guin. And then hiding in here is a Tanith Lee book, Companions on the Road. Haven't read that. A Lesson in Vengeance. Haven't read that. We've got my A Wrinkle in Time set, except A Wrinkle in Time is at my parents' house. So I got these ones at a used bookstore, and I'd already had the first one. I was like, wow, it's perfect because it's missing the first one. And I have the first one already. It was great. The Two Princesses of Bamar? I don't really know how that's pronounced. And this is the One Lonely Carson Levine book over here because the others are on my retelling shelf. I have a separate fairy tale and retelling shelf, which I will show you in a different video. We've got the Chronicles of Narnia. We have A Court of Silver Flames, which I still haven't read yet because it's kind of giant. And I'm like, I have Mass's A Court of Thorns and Roses series on my Kindle. I just saw this in my favorite bookstore and was like, I'm gonna get it, and then haven't read it. Lone Little Juliet Marillier book over here. Again, the rest of hers are on the retelling shelf. First 2 books in A Song of Ice and Fire. And then we go down to the rest of them, along with Fire and Blood and The World of Ice and Fire. We've got my Twilight books. I can't decide if I want to get rid of these or not. So I had the Twilight and Life and Death bind up, and I did decide to get rid of that because I was like, I don't need that. I'm never going to read that again. But I have a certain amount of nostalgia for the Twilight series. I loved it very much as a teenager. And I'm like, I might want to reread it, even though, like, I don't think I really want to reread Breaking Dawn. I have reread Twilight as an adult, and, like, it was fine. Mostly it was nostalgia. And not gonna lie, I enjoyed Midnight Sun, too, for the same reason. But, yeah, so I'm hanging on to these for a little bit longer. Maybe I'll reread the series in a few years and then decide, okay, it's time to get rid of them, but we'll see. We've got my only Anne McCaffrey book, which I haven't actually read. The Moor Child, a childhood favorite of mine. We've got some Robin McKinley, The Blue Sword and the Hero and the Crown. We'll see more Robin McKinley once I stand up and we go to the next shelf. I've also got a lot of her on the retelling shelf, naturally. As I said, more Robin McKinley, Chalice, Outlaws of Sherwood, and Pegasus. I am so mad. I want the rest of this series. Rah. Naomi Novik, I have not read A Deadly Education yet. Loved Uprooted. Spinning Silver is on the retelling shelf, naturally. And then we have my Tortal collection, which I love how I have these set up. So we've got the Song of the Lioness. We've got the Protector of the Small. The Immortals I have in a bind up. We've got the Tricksters duology. And then the Becca Cooper trilogy. Here's my Lord of the Rings Evenstar. Reflecting the ring light. We'll just scoot you. So the only one of these that I have not read is Mastiff. I never finished the Becca Cooper series. I don't know why. We have the His Dark Materials series. The third one is down a shelf. There it is. This poor thing. It got a little bit beat up in my backpack when I was a teenager. It's held together with tape. We've got The Name of the Wind. That's my mom's, and I should probably give it back to her. I'm pretty sure I gave it to her for Christmas, and then I just stole it. We do have my Harry Potter books. Lord of the Rings. We've got the Silmarillion, which I have never read and probably won't ever read, but it was a gift from a friend, and I like having it. I do want to get new versions of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, honestly, because this thing is just unwieldy. Among Others by Jo Walton. Jo Walton is amazing, and you should all go check her out if you haven't. This is just fantastic. And then we go down and we have my other Jo Walton, which is Tooth and Claw. Okay, it is a 19th century novel, but they're dragons instead of people. Go check this out. It's so good. We've got my little small collection of Scott Westerfeld. So we've got the Midnighters trilogy, which I do want to reread and see if I actually want to keep, because I haven't read this since I was in high school. And then we have the Uglies series, which I frigging adored. And again, I want to reread it and see if it holds up. I did get rid of the fourth book that was called Extras that isn't really connected to the trilogy, but it's the same world. I was just like, no, I don't need that. But yeah, The Light Between Worlds, this is excellent, by Laura E. Weymouth. It is a kind of what happens after the children come back from a portal world like Narnia. And then the final book on the fantasy side of things is The Once and Future King by T.H. White, which I actually have not read. So that was my fantasy bookshelves tour. I hope you enjoyed. Have you read any of these books that I mentioned? Do you own these books? It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.